Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're doing something super specific and honestly just incredibly fascinating. We're going to meticulously deconstruct this wildly chaotic, hyper-condensed, 43-word competitive exchange. It's pulled directly from the quest to find the strongest streamer, and we're going to uncover the raw, unfiltered psychology hiding right below the surface. You know, when people are thrown into these high-stakes, physically demanding environments, the masks just completely drop. And what we're left with is this primal language of dominance, fear, and social hierarchy. So let's break down every single beat. Listen to this entire block of unfiltered, primal streamer banter. Just soak in the absolute chaos of this sequence. This guy's dumb. Oh gosh, there's no shot. Yo, shut up, no shot. I want to see Luig do it. Not even close. Oh god, I'm scared. That was pathetic. You're too weak. You can't do it. Put force into it. I mean, read consecutively, it sounds like absolute pandemonium, right? It's literally a barrage of contradictions. You've got fear colliding with aggression, insults just stacking on top of demands. But beneath this frantic surface, there's actually a highly structured psychological response to physical competition. So what does this actually mean? Like, why are we applying a structured academic lens to a group of gamers just yelling over each other? Well, because this 43-word outburst is actually a perfect, highly condensed microcosm of human group dynamics. It literally maps out exactly how we project out, how we establish pecking orders, and how we react to the impending failure of our peers. By the end of this explainer, you're going to see this not as random noise, but as a highly calculated, instinctive dance of psychological warfare. All right, part one. The chaos of competition, establishing the baseline of disrespect. Now, to really understand the climax of this competition, we first need to map out the atmosphere of the room itself. And let me tell you, it is an atmosphere rooted almost entirely in disrespect and skepticism. We've taken those 43 words and categorized their core intent, and just listen to this breakdown. 35% of the language is purely insults and critiques. Another 35%? Expressions of doubt. And the remaining 30% is this messy mix of genuine fear and aggressive commands. That basically proves that a staggering 70% of this entire interaction is built on either tearing opponents down or projecting profound doubt about their success. It's an environment specifically designed to make the competitor fail before they even try. Let's break that 70% down even further. First, we've got the direct personal attacks. This guy's dumb, or the classic post attempt, that was pathetic. These are deeply emotional, right? They directly attack the individual's character or their baseline worth. But look at the other side of the coin. There's no shot, not even close. This isn't just a basic insult. It's a calculated, almost pseudo-objective declaration of impossibility. The room isn't just saying they don't like the guy. They're presenting his failure as like an absolute scientific guarantee. Moving on to part two, anatomy of the trash talk, breaking down the hostility. You see, trash talk in a competitive streamer environment isn't just random noise. It's a tactical tool used to manipulate the spotlight and really destabilize whoever happens to be in the arena. Take the phrase, "this guy's dumb." That's a passive observation. It's thrown out to the room at large, basically inviting the rest of the group to join in on the mockery. It's a clear attempt to build an alliance against the person performing. But contrast that immediately with the other command. "Yo, shut up." Boom. The power dynamics shift in an instant. The passive observer suddenly becomes the target of an active dominant command. It just goes to show how incredibly fast alliances break down and how fiercely these competitors guard their own focus. And then we have this absolutely critical phrase. There's no shot. No shot. I really want to highlight the repetition here. Why say it twice? Well, because competitors weaponize doubt to establish dominance before a physical action even takes place. Saying there's no shot once is just an opinion. Repeating it, that makes it a decree. It's a psychological tactic to plant a seed of absolute certainty in the competitor's mind that their effort is completely pointless. Basically, if you can convince someone they have no shot before they even flex a single muscle, you've already won the psychological battle.
Which brings us to part three, the all-wig paradigm, the introduction of the challenger.
Right in the middle of this high-pressure chaos, the generalized trash talk suddenly and drastically pivots to single out one very specific individual. I want to see Luig do it. Notice what's happening here. The person speaking isn't volunteering themselves. Oh no, they're introducing an external standard, a challenger, into the mix. In group dynamics, this is a classic textbook deflection technique. It instantly shifts the immense pressure in the room away from the current failing competitor, and more importantly, away from the person speaking, directly onto a completely third party.
Which obviously leads us to the ultimate question. Why Luig? What does this actually mean for the group? All of a sudden, the competitors desperately need this specific person to attempt the feat. It creates this fascinating mystery around this unseen mythical benchmark of strength. Is he actually the perceived strongest in the room, or is he maybe the weakest and they just want to see him fail for comedic relief? Either way, Luig becomes the psychological lightning rod. By invoking his name, the group essentially establishes a new narrative and totally avoids having to face their own immediate physical inadequacy. And that leads into part 4, fear and utter failure, the psychological breakdown. Now, the abstract trash talk gives way to undeniable reality. The physical attempt is actually happening, and the psychology shifts from being proactive to incredibly reactive. Let's trace the chronological deterioration of this competitor's confidence. At 0 seconds, right before the climax, we have anticipation. Oh gosh, it's mild, almost like a polite, nervous energy. But then, just 2 seconds later, we hit realization. Oh god, I'm scared. The bravado has completely evaporated. It's replaced by genuine, primal panic as they witness the raw, physical reality of the challenge. And finally, at 5 seconds, we reach total defeat. Not even close. The tension breaks, the failure is absolute. It is wild to see how quickly human confidence just crumbles into panic when faced with undeniable physical limitations. But hey, the analysis doesn't stop at the failure itself. Notice the escalating sequence of post-mortem judgments here. First, they judge the action. That was pathetic. Then it escalates to judging the person's inherent state of being. You're too weak. And finally, it becomes this absolute devastating decree about their future potential. You can't do it. The group is systematically stripping away the competitor's dignity, their strength, and finally, their hope of ever succeeding. It's just a complete and utter psychological dismantling. And yet, right in the middle of this absolute dismantling, we find a massive contradiction. Just contrast the definitive, crushing critique of weakness directly against the final command, put force into it. This is the ultimate paradox of the competitor and the spectator, right? On one hand, they have unequivocally declared that this person is fundamentally incapable. But on the other hand, they're screaming at them to somehow generate more power. It's actually a surprisingly constructive command, but it's buried at the very bottom of an absolute mountain of insults. So, after 40 words of pure chaos, insults, fear, and absolute declarations of failure, the whole shebang boils down to a simple universal demand for human exertion. Think about what this implies for our understanding of group competition. Because even when the room says there's no shot, even when the crowd calls you pathetic, the fundamental human expectation is still that you must try harder. So what does it truly take to be the strongest? Is it just physical muscle? Or is it the psychological resilience to hear all of this chaos, tune it completely out, and still find a way to put force into it? Definitely something to keep in mind the next time you step into the arena.